Alrighty then. Good afternoon. This is Free Range, and we have back here by popular demand, Drake Bailey. And we're going to be going through some questions that some of the audience has submitted. And Drake is going to give his best answers for them. So how you doing, Drake?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Hopefully I can get some good info out.
It's always a pleasure. So let's start off with the questions. Are you ready to go?
Sock it to me.
All righty then, I will. Okay, this one is from a participant or a listener from New Zealand. And she is asking, is 5G going to be harmless in New Zealand, or is it going to be weaponized? Will disclosure expose countries' leaders, and will they be charged and locked up? New Zealand's prime minister, for one. Obviously, they don't like him.
Yeah.
No wonder.
Well, there's a combinational question. 5G on the technical end can't be. If anybody initiates it, the tower will catch fire and melt down.
Is that
great? Then there will be a great surge from that point back into the originator. So it'll probably blow up the servers and all that happy stuff. That's mechanical. That's the weaponized. ET decided no. So they put a woolly booger in it. And if they turn it on, it'll probably shock whoever flips the switch. It's that.
Go ahead, flip it.
Anyway, the 5G that's coming, you'll notice if you take a close look at the array, better known as the antenna, you'll see that it is of a crystalline substructure. That means that it's going to be natural. So it's not going to be harmful. That's the second part. As far as world leaders, 99.9% go to the pokey. They will nastiest cooler they can find. You know, the one that's got the rats running across the floor, and it's got and the sewer backs up about an inch deep, and and all that in there. Just that's where they're going.
And a bunch of cockroaches for them to visit them.
Well, they got cockroaches in there bigger than your hand. Think about a cockroach that big that has an attitude problem, and it don't matter. It likes living flesh too.
Are you serious? Are you just kidding?
Oh, yeah, those things have been around for years. Cockroaches are the squirreliest bug known. It'll eat anything and survive on it very nicely, to include wallpaper paste, wallpaper, plaster, concrete. They're not sure if it eats steel or not, okay? But everything else, plant, animal, whatever, they'll eat it if they can get a hold of it. And if it happens to be alive, if there's enough of them, it won't twitch too much and disturb their meal.
All righty then. I don't know if you, here's another question. I don't know if you know anything about Orgone pyramids, but this is about Orgone.
About who?
Orgone pyramid.
Well, just a little bit. I know it's green.
Not necessarily. I have one I could show you.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Well, this is a question. Can you confirm wrapping the crystal clockwise or counterclockwise? Or not the crystal, the little wire that you frequently...
I know, it depends on which end's up. That's the hard part. If you can figure out which end is up, then you know which way to wind it. If you don't know which way to wind it because you can't tell which end is up, I'll suggest that you don't fool with it. Unless you like things that burn your hand when you touch it. Might burn a hole, smoke a hole through your the table it's sitting on. I mean, there's a lot of fun things that can happen. It has a tendency, if it's wrong, to melt just about anything known to man, especially glass and ceramic and things that are supposed to be impervious to heat. Well, guess what? Oops.
Oops, yeah, that's a big oops. Okay.
So there are books on crystals, and there are ways to determine, according to the crystal you've got. You got to know its origin, the general area it came from, size, the configuration can be anything from triangular in terms of three-sided up to dodecahedron. So and what you'll see is if you look at the crystal, you'll see individual sides to it. Generally, they're some of them can be round too. By the way, some of them in general are 5 or 6 sided. Generally, one of those. 4-sided is 4-sided sometimes, but not as often as people like to make you think. The siding on the crystal is part of the interactive reflectivity, similar to the physics that goes on inside of a laser when it populates and zaps things.
Wow. Because then another question was, can you have more than one of those coils in a pyramid?
There's no coil in a pyramid.
Wait a minute, let me show you something real quick. Hang on. Here's a sample pyramid. Okay.
I understand that.
Now here, this one has a coil down in the bottom, which is
that's artificial horse hockey. A true pyramid doesn't need coils. Well, look at Giza.
I mean, I didn't make this, so I didn't.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying you don't need coils. If you want to tap the energy, you'll need to artificially weight it so that it creates a piezoelectric effect where it's located. Then you'll need to figure out what frequency it is transmitting on, and then you can adjust the electronics necessary to make use of it. They used a lot of different things. One of those was amber gas, chlorite gas. I'm trying to think here. The filaments were a very odd composure of tungsten and other elements. And what's really neat is the batteries. But all you gotta do is learn to read the glyphs, and all that information is written down on the wall right next to the big light bulb they show you. That's about 4 foot long. And it's not a light bulb in the sense of what we're familiar with. It's a light bulb in the sense of inverse, glowing properties on a phosphorescent type of basis, but it's a universal frequency that makes everything glow. So in other words, you turn this big sucker on, and it can light up a whole city without any direct light.
Whoa! Okay. Wow.
Well, it's like a resonant frequency. People resonate with certain things, and if you're close to a certain object, you resonate with it. You get certain feelings, you get certain images, you get certain sensations. Those are what are combined into what I was just talking about. Wow. Which basically boils down to a simple light bulb.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, we kind of answered this one, but it says, what is Trump doing to stop the microwaves in 5G? I understood he is, and when will that happen? People are really concerned about the 5G thing because there's been a lot of information out on the militarized version, and nobody.
The militarized version is not coming out. The natural version is coming out. ET won't have anything less. Somebody, like I said, somebody does something stupid and goes sideways, so does all their equipment, maybe them too. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people see things on sci-fi presentations or movies or whatever, where you got all these sparks going everywhere and all that happy stuff. Sometimes you don't have any sparking. Sometimes you have an auric field, and one is one polarity and one is another polarity. And when those two meet in the middle, it's like a capacitance bomb. You got a double whammy. Or an implosion would be a good example. You implode something, it goes in and then goes out. Okay, these things do that equally in both directions at the same time. So you get the destructiveness of like a tornado. If you can imagine twin tornadoes, one turning one way and one turning the other, and they're going, and both of them are going round and round and round. Okay, imagine if they shorted out. Boom. That's basically what I'm talking about.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Messy.
Yeah. All right. Here's another question for you. This is a confusing question. Okay. We are a hologram, the body and spirit, or only the body? Is there on dimension where we are not a hologram?
Oh boy. Each human being that I've run across that is totally fully human is a three-part being. That's correct in the book. Body, that's the physicality you walk around with. Soul is soul life, your character that you most people cause problems with it, either for their parents or when they get older, they pick on politicians like I do. And the third part is spiritual. All three of these are intertwined, fully available to anybody, and at the same time, just as usable as any tool you can think of, like screwdrivers and hammers and all that. The individual has to do is to learn how to integrate the three together. Now, people have heard about the mystery of 369.
Yeah.
Okay, 369, when you add them together, you get 9, which is max. That's Gematria math. 3, 6, 9. 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 9 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. In Gematria math, you only go 0 through 9. 0 is what is known as a rest state, where there's no forces of any kind working on anything. Then it goes up from there. When you get to the max, you get a cubic, and this is really fun. A cube or square something, it is the individual number multiplied by itself. How is it that you can have both a square and a cube at the same time? Ooh, you see, a lot of people make a mistake. Our mathematics has been scrubbed of things that should be prevalent today. It makes a lot better sense in a whole lot of ways, but it also is not only more accurate, but it gives the full impact of what's going on. 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. 3 times 3 is 9, but you just did that in a plus. The reason that it's confusing is that there are only 2 mathematical operations, no matter what you're fooling with: addition and subtraction. There is no multiplication and division. It doesn't exist. A multiplication is where you take the 2 and actually combine them into a singularity all over again, whatever that number is, and start over. The fine structure constant is based on that, or the golden mean, however you want to look at that. You have 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. Then you have 1 plus 2 is 3. Then you have 2 plus 3 is 5. And that's how the count works. You take the first number, okay, and this is also some of the numbers of creation. Male, 1, female, 1, plus equals 2. Okay. 2 then is added to the last number. which was 1. That gives you 3.
3.
So then you get 2 and 3 added together, you come up with 5. 3 and 5 is 8. And it just goes on and on and on. 5 and 8 is 13.
Huh. Okay.
Sounds confusing, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Well, unless you study this stuff and are very familiar with it, it can sound confusing. But if somebody really listens to this and then looks it up, they'll find the validity.
Okay. So we would suggest that you do that, and I will do it as well. Okay. Is there a did you answer? Is there a dimension where we are not a hologram? When we go into the
Not exactly, because everybody is a projection of themselves, wherever they may be. So the projection that you have in whatever dimension you're in, the dimension determines the condition.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we're in the test tube, the fun and games where getting old hurts, or where you have a lot of pain for no reason at all. Okay, what you have to understand is that we're getting ready to leave all of that horse hockey, sitting on the couch, get up and walk away from it. It's called 4D. And 4D gives us the information. It's the place we're going to in 4D is the upper level of 4D. Reason for that is that the lower portions of it are filled with all kind of monstrous, I don't know what you call them, pirates?
unfriendlies?
Yeah, whatever. Well, anything you can think of is not nice, right? That's lower levels of 4. We're going to the upper levels of 4 and learn from the teachers that are not only familiar with 4, but also are familiar with the transition from 4 to 5. That transition will be easy compared to this one, because we're making most of the basic societal changes from 3. That means that when we get to 4, we won't have near the problems. And the other part is that the physicality, in terms of hurting all the time or whatever that bugs the goodies out of you, will no longer exist. That's your first step into a new reality. Well, we'll have to take a big one here in 3 to get to 4. Now, ETs said they're going to plug us in and help us, so it should not be something that's considered impossible, or the probabilities don't match, or whatever fun games you can think of. Basically what it is that we are going to 4D. We're supposed to do that transition this year. Now, if all of the things that we do are accomplished in terms of 3D, so that we can move to 4D, catch on, then we will move very quickly from 4 to 5. The 5th dimension is where the heavy part of the spirituality comes in terms of your 3-part being and your abilities. That's where that starts. You don't like walking through walls, things of that nature, simple stuff.
That sounds like fun.
What?
I said, that sounds like fun. Walk through walls or teleport someplace that you want to go to.
Well, what's funny is ET seems to be serious all the time, and in the back of their head, they're laughing or whatever's off at us. Hey, man, we did that 17,000 years ago. What's wrong with you people? You didn't get the memo. What's up here? You know. So it's convoluted, it's complicated, and yet it's just as simple as flipping a light switch.
Well, you know what I might have to say to the ETs that say that is they'll walk a mile in my shoes.
They don't wear shoes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. What do they wear?
Yeah. What do they wear? Skin.
Oh, very funny.
I'm serious.
Oh, they don't wear There's no shoes. There's no clothing.
You don't need them if you have your stuff set right. You don't need the protectivity of clothes. Everybody won't wander around naked if that's what they want. You don't need the protectivity. You don't need to protect your feet from things that no longer will bite you, like certain gravel is sharp or thorns or all that. Okay, no, that's not a part of their society, of their social fit with the universe. Doesn't work the way our mess here in 3D does. So, it's like the form of what they call planetary transportation is totally different in terms of what we consider it. We got all these cars and trucks running up and down the road, wasting rubber and burning fuel. What happens if you put something in there that don't burn fuel? That's first. Number two, what happens if you no longer have to touch the ground? Ooh, hover cars. Now that's going to be limited like you would not believe right at first. They have seen, ET has seen some of the way people drive here, and they're not going to let nobody fly. They don't trust them, believe me, and for good reason. They have seen old people in Florida do things that the laws of physics say you cannot do with a full-fledged vehicle. And actually, and this is the funny part, I used to have some of these videos, not do any harm or damage to anything, but just scare the living whatever out of people that are just being innocent walking by. Dude, a double back flip with a Cadillac, you out of your mind? No, it's fun. And go and do another one. That's anyway.
That's not just in Florida, that's here in Peru too.
So we're going to use roads as a clear spot for us to hover in. You're going to hover about 1.5 feet, give or take, off the ground, no matter what it is you got. It doesn't matter if it's a 18-wheeler or what. Motorcycles, same deal. You don't get to, and here's what, people that have ever raced a motorcycle, whether you're running from the cops or trying to get to your girlfriend's house before her boyfriend leaves, or whatever the deal might be you're hurrying up about, here's what's neat. The turning capabilities of vehicles is limited to two things. Number one, traction. If your rubber ain't holding onto the ground, you go flying off sideways. Okay, that's first. Number two, people have limits in terms of what they can take going sideways. You've seen those machines that whirl you around in circles, centrifuges. You get all based up. Okay. The fun part is this. Those are no longer in effect. You don't have to worry about traction. You make a 90-degree turn, you did the 90-degree turn. You won't feel it. You'll see it.
Leaning.
Exactly. You won't have any of that. Because the thing is that you're encapsulated in a field. And when you're inside that field, the field can do whatever the hell it wants and has no effect on what's inside. Look up the Searle principle. He explains a lot of that.
Oh, okay.
John Searle builds flying saucers that operate on the gravitational anomaly of a broken magnetic field. Same thing the Flying Bell did by the Nazis. Only what they did was they caused it to actually ring even though it was solid, among other things. And there's a whole world of this stuff out there. Go explore. You think sci-fi is fun? That stuff really gets you, especially when you see it actually working. Oh, and by the way, they shot a bell off, and it was by accident. They didn't mean to. The Nazis did. They had this thing, and they had it all chained down. It broke loose and went cha-ching. They didn't see it anymore. It went a short distance, producing all kind of light colors and whatnot, and then it disappeared. Poof. It came back, when the hell was that? 2 years ago? It was launched in 1942. It just came back.
Oh my God.
They had a B-52, you're going to love this, that landed at an Air Force base all by itself. There was nobody on board. The last they had heard from that flight, this is really cool, 1941. oh, and it just came back, I think it was last year.
Weren't there people
Like that, or like that ghost ship that just showed up in Puerto Rico, I believe it was. That boat had not been seen for 18 years, and all of a sudden there it is. There are no bodies, no bones, no nothing, just a boat.
How do you explain
So
that?
it sort of materialized out of nothing into something and floated into the harbor. And I guess it drove everybody crazy trying to snatch hold of it to keep it running over things.
Wow. There are some very unusual things that are going on.
Well, my question is, have you heard of that project that they had where they made a battleship invisible?
And then they try to bring it back and people got stuck in it. What was that?
One of the things, yeah. What was the name of that? Do you remember?
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you.
Manhattan Project or something like that? No.
Who?
Was it Manhattan Project or was that something else?
Manhattan Project, it was supposed to be the atomic bomb, and it was a lie.
Oh, okay. Well, what was it then? I don't remember. I'll know it when I hear it.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Everybody look it up. Everybody look
it up. I'll look it up.
Okay, well, what happens when you disturb something to the extent that they disturb things with that project causes funny results in other ways? Everybody, these people have not learned their lesson. Just like in the movie, they turned around and did it again and had to send somebody back to fix it. Well. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, fun, huh?
Really? Okay, here's another one. What are the trumpet sounds around the world? Are there interdimensional wars going on? That's what they're thinking.
Well, now let's go back to the first trumpeting that was recorded. Does anybody remember about that? Something about some big walls and people were supposed to walk around and around this city and stomp their feet and all that happens.
Yeah. I remember Jericho.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Jericho?
Jericho, yeah. Well, if you disturb things, God love it, and you don't know what you're fooling with, you can end up with permanent results. I'll suggest that those are permanent results from that incident alone. You see, you made something, you took a vibration and turned it into something that dissolves solid matter. And when you do stuff like that, whether it's a time experiment, invisibility project, or whatever, it can create permanent results. I'll suggest that this is a permanent result of that. Whoa. In other words, you're hearing the tootie toot from Jericho. Ooh, there's that. Hi, we're here.
Interesting. Okay. So, what about interdimensional wars? Do you know anything about that?
Interdimensional what?
Wars.
They had one about 30. I'm thinking 37,900 years ago. The end result was the catastrophic results around 26,000 years ago on this planet. And all that was a leftover energy wave, I'll call it. And it just about destroyed everything on the planet, including the planet itself. It almost killed Gaia, which is the living entity that is our planet. There are very few people left. Most of them had scientific knowledge that was extraordinarily advanced, which helped us a bunch in terms of survival. So interdimensional, they don't allow those any longer for that simple reason. It started with the explosion of a planet here in our solar system. That's about 40,000, give or take. The Van Allen radiation belt and all that. Okay. They saw what the residual was and they didn't like it. They don't like atomics for two reasons, but irrespective, this superseded atomics. This caused shifts in things that are supposed to be relatively permanent. Now, what that means is you got something that's relatively on a plane, okay, and it might do a little whoopity-doo, or at the most. This one made it go like this, okay? And so what happened was, just the same as at Montauk Island during their fun and games experiments, it created slight ruptures in time itself as such. That meant that it was popping time streams. Now, my family are the Q, the real ones. And our job, since, well, as far back as I can remember, and I can remember back about 800 billion years, and it's been our job to maintain the time streams so that people don't get screwed around, so that things don't get screwed up. And what we try to do is keep it under control. Basically, like I said, level. It might have a little bit of a,
but none of that.
Good, yeah, but none of this, little kid shaking his hand because a beetle bit his finger. You don't have that stuff going on. If you did, there'd be people flying in all directions, as an example. Now, so the maintenance of the time stream was critical. That's where your interdimensionality comes in. They have to use the time stream in order to use the interdimensional capability of the shift from whatever dimension to whatever dimension. And that, the basis of that has been primarily curtailed. Only certain individuals, such as myself and a very few others, can travel or visit or go, or however you want to look at it, interdimensionally. The web that you saw on the Einstein relativity documentary stipulates a web. Mm-hmm. And that web can be bent on all different directions. The planet sitting in it causes a slope, like a drain. It's sloped all the way around, down into, okay, and supported. The fabric of time, a fabric of existence, the fabric we're looking at, is of a type that can actually be stretched if need be. Now, that's if need be. That would be very extreme circumstances. What usually happens is it gets bent a little bit. Doesn't get stretched, gets bent. And when it bends, and you bend it far enough, you bring it together. Now, our universe, well, let's make it our galaxy. That's big enough. Think about taking one end of it and the other end of it and folding that sucker together, and then you're on this side over here and you want to be on this side over here, and you just go, and you're there. It's called traveling without movement. Dune stipulated it. The old sci-fi classic Dune stipulated it.
I'm gonna have to watch that again.
Well, and so then you have these dinks that talk about the Matrix. There's a problem with the Matrix, and that is that they did not follow the original script. The original script was one movie, not three, and not Hollywood, one movie. And it was absolutely truthful. That was the problem with it. They deleted a rather large shitload of truth out of the Matrix, but you can use a lot of the Matrix as instructional material. So once you understand that if we are a holographic projection so that we can entertain each other and maintain our sanity, then that means that we can turn that holographic projection off and take a look at things as they really are. Ooh, remember that part of the Matrix?
Yeah, I do. It's not going to look like that, is it?
Yeah. No, maybe not. Nobody has reported yet. I've seen it, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. When you guts and it comes in and you feel froggy, leap. Go look for yourself. You'd be amazed. Okay.
Okay.
And there's a lot of other things, but one of the ways you can take a good look at what your relationship to the cosmos is to bond with Gaia. That's full and absolute bonding. You'll hear a female gendered entity talking to you. And you'll say, really? And the question you need to ask right then is, what happens if I look the other way? I'm looking at Gaia, looking down. What happens if I look up? Oh, you talk about awesome. Ooh-wee. Unlimited sight in terms of the physicality of our universe. You can see all the galaxies. If you want to get down to the details, you can see individual critters or entities or whatever moving around on the little planets. It is awesome.
Wow. Huh. You know, a lot of people don't realize that Gaia is a living entity.
Yeah, I know. We should treat her a lot better too.
Oh, definitely. It's horrible.
Tell me something. Have you got a volume control on your side?
Yeah.
Turn it up to hair.
Turn it up a hair. Okay, let me see if I can. Come on. Yeah.
I turned my speakers up so I can hear you better.
Okay.
You can leave it alone if you're afraid you might mess it up.
Okay. I'll just try to talk louder too, because I don't have speakers on this particular computer because I'm on a different computer in a different place, and I don't have my little speaker, so I'll just have to talk louder.
Okay.
So what about CERN? Doesn't that interfere with dimensions and all that stuff we were talking about earlier? Our timelines?
Oh, they'd like to do a lot of things with CERN. The only problem is that they're having trouble maintaining it. Every once in a while they turn it on and they get a whole lot of smoke for their trouble.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Well, every once in a while, one of us will unplug something. What the hell? It ain't working worth a shit. What's wrong with this thing? You know, and it takes them, it took them, how long? It took them 6 weeks last time to figure out which resistor I fried. Just one resistor in the whole system was fried, but it controlled a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, all the ETs were laughing or whatever's all falling on the floor.
I bet. So here's another one for you. Is the planet a spaceship?
Yes. I'm not going to say which kind. I'm not hold on now. I'm not allowed to say which kind, but it is not only a spaceship, but it's alive. Gaia, remember? Living, self-aware entity, a God level being. So, and she don't put up with a whole lot of horse hockey. Remember that old commercial? The lady was dressed in white. It's not nice to fool with Mother Nature. She raised her hand and you could hear the lightning hitting. Well, Gaia can be like that too.
I can't say I blame her with some of the stuff that's gone on this planet.
Well, you have to understand that you have to be able to move the planet, and you have to be able to do so succinctly. The problem people don't get, and David Wilcock did a really good job of getting that information out, is that it moves in a vortex or a spiral. It turns as it moves forward, it rotates. Okay. The reason we've been having funny problems in terms of warming, in terms of weather not acting right, is because we're going around a corner. And when you do that, the spiral puts you in certain places that you may not normally visit, and it just kind of screws it all up. So that's one part. Number two, we have a bunch of butt wipes who think they are a part of a sovereign government, and I think they're more or less interested in themselves. At any rate, they do things like earthquake machines, weather machines, HARP. Let's see here. Oh yeah, and then there's the galactic interface. So you got a whole bunch of these butt wipes. Now, what you got to remember is U.S. government is very similar to politicians. If you put politicians or the U.S. government, either one, in charge of the Sahara Desert, I guarantee you in one summer there'd be a shortage of sand. They'd want to tax you for the privilege of seeing sand. Well, the same horse manure, funny as it is, applies to these dinks. They don't have a clue what they're doing. They have trouble growing grass. It don't matter if it's, you know, crabgrass or not. They got trouble growing it. Well, what the hell do you think you're doing to the atmosphere? World Health Organization decided it was the best thing to do. Oh, what's that? Chemtrails, man. We're gonna slap SPF 5 million right over the top of the planet so the sun can't cook us all. Really? Then why in the hell would you bother doing that when the temperatures are beginning to go down? Oops, we're coming out of the turn. Oops.
Yeah, that's a big oops, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, think about GMO. Think about genetic modified organism, whether it's plant, animal, or what, doesn't matter. The History Channel actually got the National Health Institute to admit that they were cloning things. Human beings can be modified. Oh boy, plug your kid in and come out with this kind here. Think about it. Okay, well, let's get into this. Let's get into this just a little bit. GMO foods are not unnatural. We have taken a variety of different things, and this has been done since man was scratching in the dust trying to figure out what to do about things. You scratch a line in the sand, you put in your seeds, you water that mojammer, you grow certain things. Okay, if certain ones of them grow a lot better seed or a nice big bushy blossom or whatever, oh, we really like that, we're going to keep those. Let the other ones, throw the other ones away. This is called natural selection. And it is a process. So it's like your 8, 10, 12, 14 point bucks. Hunters, don't shoot them. Let them make a whole bunch more of the same. It's like the biggest catfish. Biggest one I've ever seen was on the wall of a bar down off the Yellow River. It's the better part of 28 feet long.
A catfish?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
Well, the guy that owned the bar, used to own it back in the day, happened to have a bazooka and some ammunition for it. And this poor fisherman was having terrible problems. Just trying to pull a tree out of the ground. He had it around a tree that was probably 18, 20 inches in diameter, hardwood, had wrapped his 5/8 steel braided line around the tree and was beginning to pull the tree out of the ground. Do something, man. It's going to take everybody with it. No, yeah, really. It looks like it's some kind of monster from the Stone Age. He said, if it is, shoot that mother. I said, okay, I got something in the bar. He goes back in the bar. Now, this is when the bar was different, a lot different. Anyway, he goes back in the bar, gets the bazooka down off the shelf, runs a rag through it real quick, sticks around in that circle, was out there, ka-boom, boom. And you got all this mud and fish stuff going everywhere. It's still pulling just as hard as it was before. I'll go get another bullet. He shot the thing 3 times before it quit squirming.
Holy smokes.
It got holes in it bigger than a basketball in one side and out the other. And he did have it mounted on the wall over the bar. He said, you got to be careful around here.
Holy smokes, I wouldn't want to fall in that water.
Exactly.
Wow. My goodness, I didn't know anything.
Well, we had one that got away that tried to pull my dew snap in the water. Now think about that very carefully. 2.5 ton truck. I've got it in 4-wheel drive, low gear, floored. and it's burning rubber being pulled off the end of the dock. One of the guys over there happened to have a sword handy, and he said, "I got you." Cut that line. If you hadn't cut that line, you would have ate the deuce and a half. A 2.5 ton truck's like, you know, I don't know if it'd give it indigestion, but anyway, that's just fish stories.
Wow. Oh, that's a fish story, isn't it?
They used to use me for alligator bait on the Yellow River. They would. They'd put me in a rowboat, have me dangle rotten chickens over the side and stuff, get the alligators' attention. Well, they were doing what's called rope crossing. And you got your armory buddies down the creek a ways, okay, and they're doing the overhand with the boots on the line, and sometimes their ass hits the water. Well, they don't want the gators to eat them.
Well, no, that wouldn't be cool. Oh my
Exactly.
God.
We had a training incident. What happened? Alligator ate your son. Sorry about that. Huh. You know. Anyway, so they put me up there to be ate up by the gators. It would pop my rowboat 2-3 feet out of the water sometimes. I caught one gator that was 26 foot.
26.
Well, he thought he wanted this one rotten chicken that I had purposely done up a certain way. What I did was I put the dew snap I had an oversized pulley on the front. And I run the line out, went around a big oak tree at the bottom of it, brought it out, hooked it on the boat, moved the boat out slowly into the water, got it out there. Then I took the rotten chicken, okay, hooked him on there, tied him up. And I mean, I tied him up with, what the hell they call that? Steel thread is what it's called. It's sort of it's a real pliable steel thread, I guess, or twine or whatever. Anyway, I tied this chicken on really good to the hook. And I started tapping him on the water, tapping him on the water. Pretty soon my rowboat goes about 3 feet in the air. Whole friggin' thing now. This is a 12-foot rowboat. This is not some little piece of, this ain't a canoe. About 3 feet in the air. I thought, oh, cool. Now, I learned the hard way because I almost went in the water, not to sit on the seat. You put your legs under the seat and you kind of anchor yourself with it. Then when the gator gets his nose up, you can smack him with an oar or something, really piss him off. Boom! That just, something to do with the gators. Anyway, so this big one does that, and I said, okay, here, take the friggin' thing. I slap it on the water, and he comes up, and the tip of his mouth, a gator's mouth looks something like a hand in terms of it being kind of roundish. I don't know if anybody's really noticed. Okay, some of them have a snout that's angled a little bit. Most of them are rounded, just simply rounded on the end. Well,
that's what I've seen.
The very end, the rounded part in the very end, took a chicken that was the size of about a 25-pound turkey and had plenty of room. Just the very tip, chomp. Okay, the very tip of its mouth was that big, chomp, and then it went in and it swallowed it. Now, gators are funny. They swallow stuff whole. They rip an arm off. I just swallow it down. And anyway, so this dummy swallows this down. Well, that hook was not a normal hook. I had spent quite a bit of time filing it. I filed it down to where it was pretty sharp. It hooked him. So when he tried to take off, the drag tired him out. He didn't get to go very far. And the guys down there on the rope crossing were done. Well, I could bring my rowboat in. I did. I brought it in, got it up out of the water. Had two gators that thought that I was going to be part of lunch. I smacked him with an oar. Gator has a soft spot. Everybody needs to know this. You smack him in the nose, that's like kicking him in the whatevers.
In the very end of the nose?
Very end of the nose is tender. So I give him a whop with a nice big old oar. I mean, I hit him hard. And then the other one looked at me and I hit him. I didn't hit him as hard. I hit him, and they both, first one was already gone, the second one joined him. So, no problems with gators. Load the boat up. Then I noticed that I was running out of cable, that my winch was running low on cable. I said, well, let's see what we can do about that. That's what I had to hook on. And so I just started up the old deuce and a half, put it in reverse, made sure it was in 4-wheel drive. Okay. I'm holding on to the clutch so that it ain't got no power to the wheels. And all the power is going to the hydraulic winch that is beginning to run out of cable. Well, I put that thing in super low. It's got normals up, neutrals in the middle, then it's got low, and then it's got S down below it. I put it in S and floored that. It was arguing about it. So I floored it, and it commenced to pull cable around and around and around the tree, and it was getting it caught back up, bringing it right in. This humongous, nasty mow jammer. Wow, that was the biggest gator I'd seen in a while. There was a picture of us where a state sheriff, the idiot, shot one. Now I let this one go. Had to knock him out, but other than that, I let him go. I got the food out of his gut without killing him. Anyway, the sheriff shot one, and you know how big a white-tailed deer is. Most people have seen one.
Yeah.
Okay, imagine one that's got legs out this way, hind legs out the other way, stretched out. Okay, this thing had it crosswise in its mouth and just barely could see the head and the end of the legs. Barely. That's how wide. Its mouth was. I think they said it was something like 36 feet long.
Whoa! And where was this?
Hey, during the what was it? 1920s, we used to send troops down to Florida, and it was not unusual for the troops to have to take a break. They would call in on the radio and say, "We got a snake." Oh, really? Well, there's a problem with that snake. When they get to be about 4 foot in diameter, a Jeep won't climb over it. So they back up, get away from it, and wait until the snake crawls away.
12 feet in diameter?
4 feet.
Oh, 4 feet.
4 feet.
But
Yeah.
4 feet in diameter?
Yeah, they killed one. Well, that was a rattlesnake. They killed one, and let's see here. I think he came out to 50, 60 feet in length. The critters on this planet used to be huge. We got people that were giants. They go up to 18, 20 feet tall.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Well, there was a specific race.
Oh, they had to have some animals to go with it, right?
Yeah, well, you know.
Wow, that's big.
So, you know, you get into all this stuff, and it gets very fascinating. Anyway, you got more questions?
I sure do. Okay, this question is from somebody in Florida where a lot of alligators are. But anyway, they asked if Florida will be underwater in a few years, and do they need to move away from the coast because there's been that scare about the melting ice.
Okay, well, the problem is that the water's been going down. Just the opposite of what the global warming freakouts are talking about. And the reason it's been going down is that the snow caps at both poles have increased by 30% this past winter. That means it's sucking up fresh water, freezing it, and depositing it. It will eventually, when it gets deep enough, convert itself to ice. So what we got right now is cooling trend.
Wow. Yeah, I've read
So
that.
no, first of all, I don't think we're going to be that long before we make our transition. And secondly, there are ways in which ET can intervene and stuff like that, with their technology. So no, just keep an eye. If you see sudden fluctuations in the depth of the water, and I mean, within a few minutes it rises like 3 feet, that'd be something to be concerned about. And that's possible. If you see the water disappear, best thing you can do is get on the first airplane you can find, no matter what it is, and fly the opposite direction of the ocean, because you got a tsunami coming at you, a big one.
Oh, really? Because I remember seeing pictures where they had boats were just sitting,
Yeah,
there used to be water there,
yeah,
and
exactly,
nothing there anymore.
exactly.
Wow.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, this is weather manipulation that we're aware of has caused serious crop failures. Do the white hats and Trump have access to the vaults that the deep state have with the stored seeds and all that good stuff?
Okay. Most of that is being shut down either by certain people being nice. In other words, shut it down or else. That's pretty simple. Usually they'll give you a funny look and say, "What do you mean or else?" And so, how long do you want to live? And that usually cuts all the ice and all the horse hockey. I don't understand. Oh yeah, how long can you hold your breath? you know. Well, it's not difficult. So yes, there's all manner of manipulation. You have a combination of several things. One's atmospheric, one's solid ground. The third one is the oceans, and all of those are being manipulated. Then you have the fun and games called a true earthquake machine. That's where a volcano suddenly that's been dormant for 2,000 years, no reason to come back to life, suddenly explodes and gets real lively and excited. No, that's generally manipulation. Okay.
Okay. Okay, the next question. Does the healing machines help with cerebral palsy, scoliosis, spina bifida, and or birth defects in general?
Okay, let's put this in perspective. The advanced healing machines are the only ones that I'm really familiar with in terms of what they absolutely do. They absolutely attend to everything. And if you have a grinched up arm and there's no way you can straighten it out, it will regrow it for you so that you end up normal as far as our physiology. This is not limited to anything. In other words, any kind of disease or malady that you can think of can be addressed with an advanced healing machine, but it has to be an advanced healing machine. The ones that are supposedly out and available now are not advanced,
Like
so they do part of it.
the med beds that they talk about are there.
Well, med beds are a little bit different depending on which one they are. A lot of people don't know which one they're talking about. A true healing machine was a med bed, and it used a combination of vibration, light, vibratory physics. Trying to think here, parasitic controls, and a whole bunch of other things. See, when a person has a Big Mac attack, that's little parasites inside of you saying, "Hey, man, we want a grease burger. Go get one." And if enough of them say it and they're loud enough, you go get a Big Mac attack.
Yes, 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 yes. I'm so glad to hear you say that because I've told that to people. They don't believe it.
It's like Kentucky Fried Chicken. You gotta have it. Kibbles and bits or something.
As I said, the meat's actually addicting. And
Yeah.
that's exactly why, right there. Okay. Let's see, where's my other question? I turned it to the page here. When will those healing machines be available anyway? That's the other thing. When will people actually be able to have access to those kind
of access now to the regular ones, healing computers and all that sort of stuff. A true full-fledged healing machine attends to every part of your physiology, to include psychotherapy on what would be the standard for you as to the balance of the chemicals in your brain, your spinal cord, your nervous system, etc. It attends to all of that. It even goes to the point of changing modifications to your DNA or your genomes, or however you want to look at that, to the extent that it is reset to where it was originally intended and supposed to be.
Oh, so any mutations or any
all that goes. It's all fixed.
But it can be fixed, even though it's like, say it was a mutation from a generation ago that kept getting passed on, it'll go back to the original.
Yeah, it'll go back to where it's supposed to be. In other words, you've got a funky arm, it'll fix it. That sort of thing.
That will be a godsend to so many people.
A lot of people can use that. Now, the problem is that's the realm of ET, and it also has dealings with our progress towards the transition. Depends on us, not something outside of us. As we get rid of the ideas that we are so different, or that we can do what we want to with other people's freedoms, or whatever the concept may be, as these things are modified to a point where they're to the point where they do no harm and are beneficial to everybody, no matter who it is, where they are, what their situation, then we will be going in the right direction well enough that ET will flip the switch and we'll have a transition. And the transition is about like this. Done.
Wow.
You're going to be sitting there kind of dinged, like somebody dinged you on the head, clunk, clunk. Well, you're going to be looking around and something's different. I don't know what the hell it is. And then you notice, hey, there used to be 1 billion cockroaches in here. They're all gone. Hey, that's pretty cool.
Or how about those little red ants?
Yeah, that too. Fire ant. Or crazy ants. Or yeah, okay. The things that are not conducive to the well-being of everything else, go. Now, that does not necessarily mean that everything goes, but things that sting, bite, etc., without having gone through due process to get the right to do so, these things lose their stingers. There are going to be some species that no longer will exist.
Like a wood tick, I hope, or deer tick.
Oh, I don't know. Let's say mosquitoes.
That's another one.
They like to sneak up on you when you're just about asleep and go in your. You wake up trying to kill something that you can't even see. Okay, no-see-ums. All they do is bite the hell out of you. I don't know if anybody's been to Florida. If you ain't been to Florida and found no-see-ums, what you need to do is find a creek, park your car, walk along that creek. I guarantee you will find all kind of no-see-ums. These little itty-bitty bugs bite about as hard as a Doberman pinscher. I mean, they go chomp and you go, ooh. Now imagine if it was billions of them chomping you all over. They crawl down inside your hair to get to your scalp and chomp. Let's see here. Most bugs have a purpose, but there's a large majority of them that aren't worth nothing at all. They don't provide themselves as food. They don't provide the benefit of taking care of carrion, etc. Whatever they were supposed to do, they ain't doing it. Okay, those bugs are gone. They're out of here, along with all the stingers.
Well, that'll be good. That'll be nice. That'll be welcome.
So, yes.
Okay. Another question. What about the RV?
Revaluation is doesn't exist. The global currency reset does, which is in process right now. Now, the problem is that the good guys are having one hell of a fight with the bad guys trying to get these things accomplished that everybody's been hearing about and would like to see. Consequently, you're going to be dealing with what would be considered extended when it shouldn't be time period. That doesn't mean it's going to last forever. It's supposed to all be taken care of by the end of before the end of this year. We're supposed to transition before the end of this year if everybody gets their shit together. So, it's whenever something really needed done, guess who they call? We the people. Well, here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. Down the roller coaster of life.
So we the people need to get ourselves together and unite, and
then the government will go, holy shit, the blacks and the whites and the Latinos and everybody agrees.
they're not fighting with each other. Oh my God.
Well, what's really funny is that this happened once before in Germany, and they decorated anything that would hold us in human body by the neck, everything. Extra ones on lampposts because they were stronger, all the tree branches that would hold a dead body, etc. Window ledges, you name it. They hung every politician they could find. It was a major city. There was thousands of bodies that were left twisting in the wind until they dissolved of their own accord, to remind the new politicians that if they F up, they're able to get F'd in the process.
Wow.
Well, think about it. Weimar was using money for heating fuel, wallpaper. It got so worthless. Hello, Venezuela. The same thing repeats itself. I mean, you know, you got all these young people who never did anything much, but think they're all that. Trying to tell people that are experienced and do know something and have done things that, oh, socialism is the way to go. Really? Well, let's put these dinglebats on a boat and give them a sabbatical in Venezuela for about a month. See what they think how much fun it is to eat out of a trash can. I mean, you know, flip the maggots out of the way. I'm eating that. Get off of that. Plump, 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 plump. I mean,
oh my God.
What do you mean there's no toilet paper in the whole friggin' country? Whose idea was that?
Oh my goodness. I better collect leave.
Yeah. Well, they're paying the troops in toilet paper. That tell you anything?
What?
That's how rare a commodity it is. It's become a currency. You can't eat money, and if you can't buy food because there isn't any in the country, then the money don't mean much. Plus, it's so inflated that it takes a wheelbarrow full of it to buy a loaf of bread. Well, he's paying them off in a combination of food, toilet paper, and little things that nobody else can get. And the problem is he's about to run out, and nobody will do the gold deal that he's done in order to get enough cash together to buy something. So he's kind of, I don't know, Shit's Creek, no paddle, and the boat's leaking.
So, wow.
So I suggest that we take any politician who thinks that it's cute to be a pain in the ass. Hello, Pelosi, Schumer. I can name a bunch of them anyway.
Oh my God, yeah, even I can.
Well, we can at the very least dump them across the southwest border. Remember, there's no emergency. Have fun, enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, I heard, and speaking of the border, that there was another whole.
Oh yeah, it's not gotten no better down there. It's gotten worse.
Why?
That's where we need to take these dingbats that never did nothing in their whole life, that are so full of it they can't of themselves that everybody's got to be like me. Drop them across the friggin' fence. Toss them across the Rio Grande. Tell them don't come back. I'll shoot you. We'll tell you when you can come back. About a month. Now they go down there and survive for a month. They'll get a real good picture as to why people are trying to get out of there into here.
Mm-hmm. Why can't they pull some of those troops that they got all over around the world? Why can't
they're getting ready to pull some and do just that?
Good.
The militia is already down there assisting.
Who is?
The militia.
Oh, the militia. Yeah. They arrested that one guy who was a militia.
Yeah, but he let him right out of jail too. Oh. The constitutional legalities involved were greater than what the Border Patrol wanted to try to screw with. He was within his legal right. You see, the problem is this: anytime any official or official agency, department, etc., refuses for any reason that they can't do their job, we get to do it for them. If they can't handle the pressure, you know, you can't handle the heat out the kitchen. Well, it's real simple. Border Patrol needs the assistance. Okay, my suggestion would be for the dummies that are in charge that aren't doing squat but sitting sitting around scratching themselves, maybe you might consider deputizing the militia so that they do it, so that they have a ready right to detain for officialdom known as the Border Patrol. Come pick them up. Hey man, we're gonna need 7 Greyhound buses or more down here. We got a crowd you wouldn't believe. You're not allowed to hold somebody at gunpoint. Bullshit. The coyotes are carrying AK-47s. I'm bringing my battle rifles. Somebody don't like that? Try and take it. It's not difficult to understand what's going on. Go down there and look. Pelosi, Schumer, they ain't been down there. The one guy that went down there thought he was all that and says, I don't see no border emergency. And somebody picked up on it and says, well, of course not. You're standing next to a 20-foot fence. And they used that against that poor guy until he bled. But
Pardon.
were you about to be visited by a talking?
No, there was noise coming from the
Yeah.
astronauts.
Okay, so what other questions you got?
Well, I think we
covered them?
Yeah, most of the ones. Well, I know we can go to. This is one from the last set of questions. Never did really get into it too much.
Like when you grin before you ask the question? Okay.
It's about prions.
Freon?
Prion, Prions. And
okay. And?
Bovine serum used in vaccines, and Creutzfeldt-Jacobs, and all those connections.
Well, I'll make a suggestion on that. Quit going to the supermarket and buying your meat first. Number 2, find a place that provides free-range, grass-fed, minimal chemical meat of all kinds. Why do you think I live in the woods where I do? Well, it's very simple. They test the things in the grocery. Now, there's 2 tests. The first one is a chemical test. Okay, we don't find any residuals of the chemicals you're not supposed to be using in our meat. We'll put it on the shelf. Then comes the second test. Certain people with discerning taste buds will take some home, small portions preferably, take some home and try it out. If everything's fine, tastes good, and everything, and it's all cool, bingo, you got a sale item. If not, I have seen whole cases full of certain meats sit there until they had to be thrown away. That's just in this community up here. It don't do nothing extraordinary. It just acts right. It uses an extraordinarily, and I mean extremely rare commodity. It's called common sense.
Extremely rare.
They do not use chemicals more than what they are absolutely required to absolutely do in an emergency with any other animals. All of the animals, sheep, goats, pigs, cattle, free range, grass fed, like nature intended. And this is, they don't use weed killer. They do use 10-10-10 as a fertilizer, makes the grass grow pretty good. There are no fattening chemicals that are used that are similar to the ones used in feeder pens to fatten the cattle up before they sell it. They don't do that. They don't think it's right. So consequently, they stay away from that.
Well, I've seen that done. Cattle feeding those feedlots.
Yeah, I've seen a guy with a chute. He puts the seed in, and a guy comes right along behind him with gallon jugs dumping chemicals on it. Cows don't know the difference.
Yeah, it's really bad. And then the number of hormones and the number of antibiotics and all that are used in that as well, unless you use the kind of meat that you're talking about.
Well, see, they refuse to do that up here. Somebody says you got it, they pull a gun on you in a heartbeat. You couldn't tell me that you're now in charge of my life? Well, guess what? You're not quick enough on the draw. Hey, there have been, let's put it this way, at first, and this has been years ago, there was a large number of so-called officials, I'm quoting this loosely, so-called officials of varying different kinds that just plain vanished. Now, I know which coal shaft they dumped them down. I also found out that there was at one time a certain person who thought they were in charge of the world, and they were a forest ranger, right? Well, you know what was funny? She picked on the wrong guy. And guess what he did? Dink! Knocked her out. She had a model right dead in the middle of her forehead. Dink! Knocked her out. Stripped her naked and tied her to a tree and called in and said, "There's a naked woman tied to a tree out here. What? You guys need to come check this out." Think about the embarrassment of being tied naked to a tree.
I'd rather not.
Well, she, when she finally disappeared after being wrapped in blankets, she never reappeared, ever, anywhere that is known to man. She's gone forever.
I bet.
Anyway, we are at about an hour, a little over, an hour and 10 minutes maybe.
No.
Did you have anything in particular that?
Maybe just if you have any other updates of any kind that you think the audience would be interested in.
Well, there is a large load of operations that are going on behind the scenes that very few people are aware of. It ain't because they're classified or being kept secret. It's simply because mainstream media refuses to report on it. And and I'm going to use this as it's intended, the talking heads on major news channels refuse to mention it. Now, I don't know if they've been told not to say nothing or if they're just not following the cue that everybody has given them. Oh, you got to report on this. Yeah, well, you're not. Trump's been saying on the news that we're not going to play their game anymore. Now, I understand what Barr's up to. He gets to play proctologist with all those dinks that come up with that false Steele report. Everybody involved in that is has a bad case of what's known as felonious treason, meaning they use all their rights and get stuck in a hole. So you can expect probably, I'd say at the very minimum, 25 to 50 gone. Now, if that doesn't happen with Barr at the head in charge, see, Barr can call up the federal marshals and say, "I need this turkey thrown in that shithole over there." Oh, you mean to tell me you're going to put him in the septic tank? No, I'm going to put him in the cell next to it where it leaks all that stuff across the floor. Oh, okay. Toss him in.
Oh, lovely.
Think about how cold it is. Think about, it ain't exactly warm yet. Think about being in the 40s and shit flowing across your floor. Oh, yeah, you have no idea. They got rats in there that are big enough to cart you off. Ooh. You got to fight them off. You can't sleep too well when that, but anyway. And it's only one example. They have an alternative to that. They don't have to put them in a hole. They can put them in stocks. You don't know what stocks are. That's the thing. Okay, well, think about it. They can put you in stocks in public and allow the public to punish you. Well, think about that very carefully. Can you imagine? Now, and my advice to these people has been, do it in public. Wait until the dinglebat is standing behind a podium in front of a few thousand people trying to elucidate on, we got to be free. Socialism will do it. It's a great new deal and all this other dumb shit. And several people walk up and say, "I'm sorry, but you need to put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest." Now I'm going to ask you a question. I don't know how far physically you live from Washington, D.C., but I'd be willing to guarantee you'd hear this noise in the background. It would be the screech of Pelosi losing it. Oh, and then Mad Maxine Waters, and then
Oh my God.
and then Hillary Clinton. Oh my! Can you imagine that screeching? Well, this is the kind of thing that you can look forward to, because I heard a rumor, and it's top secret, stuck away under the shoe boxes in the closet, kind of secret that they're hiding. And they said that they were just about ready to do exactly that. I said, "Ooh, let me know the time you're going to do it, and if you'll stream it to me, if you'll make sure I get the video, we will publish that turkey big time and see how they like that." And that guy grinned and said, "We'll see what they can do." I'm hoping to get that.
That would be awesome. It really would. You know, it's time people really need to see something be done. I mean,
Well, yeah, but the problem is that they can act like they're doing something, like all these subpoenas and all other horse hockey legal games are playing with Trump. It looks like they're busy. Well, they are doing the same shit that's being done for 2.5 years. Come on, get real.
yeah.
What about immigration? You want an immigration reform, but you want an open border.
They just can't let go of it.
Take them dinks down there and toss them over the fence.
That's going to happen. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, they won't quit. They won't quit. And
Anyway,
I think that's about all the questions that I have at this time. And again,
okay.
if you have anything else that we should leave the people with,
Okay, well, I will suggest that they get in touch with you with questions that other people won't touch, whatever they may be. I'll see what I can do. How's that? Well, and then you get a big old conglomerated list, and we'll see what we can do about publishing it for them.
alrighty then. So everyone out there that listens to this show, think about questions that you'd like to ask Drake and send them to me. I have a email that is specifically for questions for Drake. And he's right. There's a lot of things that he'll answer that a lot of other people won't even touch. And that's the beauty of something like this, that you can at least get good information from shows like this rather than relying on the news, which is lying to us all the time. I mean, plain and simple, it really is fake news. I mean, so much of what Trump has tried to say is true, and people have just, I just can't believe the amount of bashing that has gone on. And yet, it's, none of it held water. I mean, all of the, you know, it's great. He's definitely vindicated. So anyway, and things are moving in a good direction, and we'll ask for more questions for next week. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much, Drake, for your time and inspiration and wisdom.
Thank you for having me on.
And we'll see you again.
Okay.
Next week or whenever. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.